All right, so today we're going to dive into a tool that was actually born inside Netflix, and it was built to solve one of the biggest, most frustrating headaches in all of data science. How do you get your brilliant ideas from your laptop into the real world? Well, that tool is Metaflow, and its entire reason for being is to bridge that exact gap.
You know, the creators of Metaflow started with this exact idea. And listen, if you've ever worked on a data science project in the wild, you know exactly what this means. It's that chaos, right? The messy data, the requirements that are always changing, the infrastructure that feels like it's fighting you every step of the way. It's the stuff that can totally derail even the best models. We're not talking about elegant theories on a whiteboard here. We're talking about taming that messy, real-world chaos.
And yeah, all that chaos, it leads directly to what we're calling the data science gap. And it really is this massive, frustrating canyon between a data scientist's slick prototype that runs perfectly on their laptop and a reliable, scalable system that's actually running in production. Honestly, it's the graveyard where countless amazing machine learning projects go to die.
So let's just ask the big question here. Why? Why is getting machine learning into production so unbelievably hard? Because here's the thing, it's usually not about the model itself or the algorithm. The real friction, the real pain, comes from all the endless operational hurdles that just stand in your way.
And look, these are not just some made-up problems. This is a literal list of pain points from a real company, the fintech company MoneyLion, before they brought in Metaflow. I mean, just think about it. You've got shared servers crashing and taking everyone's work with them. You have brilliant data scientists being forced to become experts in Docker and CI/CD pipelines, which is not their job. And that classic one, the code that runs perfectly on your laptop but just completely falls apart in the cloud. It is an absolute productivity nightmare.
So to fix all of this, the team at Netflix realized they couldn't just build another tool. That wouldn't cut it. Instead, they came up with a whole new philosophy for MLOps. And that's what we're looking at here, their human-centric fix. It's a framework built for people, not just for pipelines.
Okay, but human-centric MLOps, that's kind of a buzzword, right? So what does it actually mean in practice? Well, it's simple. It means meeting data scientists where they already live. Instead of forcing them into some restrictive GUI or making them write a million lines of complex configuration files, Metaflow lets them build production-grade systems using the languages they already know and love, Python and R. The whole point is to boost their productivity, not turn them into reluctant infrastructure engineers.
And this is a really crucial point. Metaflow isn't about pretending machine learning is simple. It's not. Real-world projects are always complex. The philosophy here is to empower data scientists to manage that complexity themselves, not to hide it from them. It gives them a powerful, unified way to cut through what the creators call accidental complexity. You know, all that frustrating junk that comes from having to glue together a bunch of mismatched tools. Okay, so this brings us right to Metaflow's core promise. This is the thing that really makes it so powerful. It's all about that journey from your laptop to the cloud and making it seamless, a single unbroken path. So let's break down how this actually works. A project in Metaflow basically has a three-stage life cycle. Step 1, you prototype. You just pip install Metaflow and you start building on your laptop like you would with any other Python library. Super simple. Step 2, you scale. You take that code and test it in the cloud at a much larger scale with almost no changes. And then step 3, and this is the absolute key, you deploy that exact same code to a production-grade scheduler. Think about that. No rewrites, no painful replatforming, the same code from start to finish.
So how does it pull this off? Well, if you look at the architecture, you can see that Metaflow basically acts as this smart, unifying layer. It's not trying to reinvent the wheel. It just plugs right into the cloud infrastructure your company probably already has. It'll use S3 for storing data, and it'll tap into Kubernetes or AWS Batch for all the heavy-duty compute power. The whole idea is that it's a flexible piece of the puzzle, not some giant, monolithic platform that makes you rip and replace everything.
And under the hood, there is some serious magic going on. You define your workflow stages using these simple little Python decorators, like @step. But here's the real game changer. When you do something as simple as assigning a variable, like self.model, Metaflow is in the background automatically saving it, versioning it, and checkpointing it. So you get data lineage and total reproducibility basically for free, without having to write all that tedious boilerplate code yourself. And what if you need to scale up? Yep, another simple decorator can spin up more GPUs or run your steps in parallel. It's incredibly powerful.
Okay, so that all sounds amazing in theory, but what about in the real world? Does it actually deliver?
Let's take a look at the kind of proof in production, the real-world impact that companies are seeing at a massive scale.
Let's start with CNN. By just removing that friction we talked about, that gap between developing locally and running in the cloud, their team was able to test more models in the first quarter of 2021 than they did in all of 2020 combined. I mean, just think about that. That is a crazy acceleration of innovation.
And of course, we have to look at its birthplace, Netflix. This is not some small niche tool they're experimenting with. It is powering over 3,000, that's 3,000 different AI and ML projects. So when we say this framework is battle-hardened, we mean it has been tested at one of the most data-intensive companies on the face of the planet.
And then you have a company like Realtor.com, where the business impact is just crystal clear. They have shaved months, not days, not weeks, but months off the time it takes to get a model from just an idea into full production. And you know what that means. That translates directly to getting business value way, way faster.
All right, now let's be honest. The whole MLOps space can be super confusing. There are a million tools, and a lot of them sound like they do the same thing. So let's try to unscramble that toolbox a bit and figure out exactly where Metaflow fits in.
I think these analogies are probably the best way to get an instant feel for the difference. Think about Apache Airflow. It's like cron, the job scheduler, but with Python and a nice UI. It's a super-powered scheduler that's all about when to run jobs. Metaflow, on the other hand, is completely different. It's like taking the interactive code-first vibe of a Jupyter notebook, combining it with the structured power of a DAG, and then plugging it all into the cloud. It's focused on how your process actually runs.
So when you look at it this way, you realize these tools aren't really competitive. They're complementary. They're pieces of a bigger puzzle. You'd use Metaflow to actually build and deploy your entire end-to-end ML application. Then you might use something like Airflow to schedule the job that kicks off your Metaflow workflow every night. And you could even use MLflow right alongside it to track all your experiments. It's about using the best tool for the job. And that's why, ultimately, Metaflow is really a builder's tool. It's for teams who don't want an all-in-one black box platform. They want to assemble a best-of-breed stack, picking and choosing the best tools for each part of the job. It gives you the power and the flexibility to truly own your infrastructure rather than being locked into someone else's walled garden.
And really, that brings us to the final thought here. Metaflow's entire reason for existing is to shrink the distance between a great idea and real-world impact. So it leaves us with a pretty powerful question, one for you to think about. If all that technical friction, all those headaches, just disappeared, and you could take your best idea from your laptop to full production this week, what would you build?